All right, agenda for today is to try and get the motor yanked from this thing. I got my hoist in here from my other location, and so we'll get the last couple things unbolted. I think I need to get the power steering fluid or system disconnected, motor mounts, and the starter wires, and that's probably about it. We'll see if we yank any wires out in the process. But before I get started on that, I actually need to change an O2 sensor in my daughter's car. It's throwing a check engine light and looks like an O2 sensor, so we'll get that knocked out real quick and then move on to the cart. That worked really well. So for years I've had this 7/8. I cut a little slot in so I could get it around the wire harness on an O2 sensor, and it's generally done the job, but on this one it just didn't quite have enough leverage on this 12-inch wrench, and it was kind of at a weird angle, didn't allow me to get a good purchase. This thing with a 18-inch breaker bar on it, or 18-inch socket wrench, and be able to get the right angle, it came right out. I think the undoing the wire harness, which was up in the transmission tunnel, getting to that connector was actually harder than breaking this loose. So this worked really well. Probably I don't have an affiliate for Amazon, but I'll probably go ahead and throw a link in the description in case someone wants to look at this. Okay, well, I was going to pull the power steering pump so I get to the lines a little cleaner, but one of those bolts, the head was already kind of stripped, and I decided to switch up a little bit. Disconnected the power steering line from the top. The bottom one is still really hard to get to, so I think I'll probably work on disconnecting the motor mounts and the alternator at this point, and then stick the hoist on here and lift it up. That hopefully will give me enough clearance to get my screwdriver on the little worm clamp that's down there, and we can get this thing out. Okay, motor mounts are disconnected and off camera. Actually, I think I have some time lapse of it. Pulled the intake manifold, got the hoist, the crane bolted up there, and I'm about ready to start lifting. We'll see if I missed anything. Let's disconnect anything. Windshield wiper motor's a little in my way, so I'm gonna pull that out real quick, and I think it'll come out after that. Didn't have to pull it all the way out, just kind of loosen it to give me enough room to squeak by. As you may have just saw, I don't know if you can see from that angle, I had to drop the radiator just a little bit to get the balancer, the lower pulley, to clear it. Didn't have to pull it out all the way, just drop it down 5 or 6 inches. still in on this side, which means I still have an upstream O2 sensor I need to get removed. All right, it's out. This is the first time I've ever pulled an engine from a car. Obviously, slightly different than it would be in a regular car with body panels and everything, but still there was a lot of things that I didn't disconnect before I started, so I had to stop a bunch of times, disconnect various things, but it came out. A couple of the connectors crumbled in my hands when I went to take them apart, but you know, it's a almost 30-year-old car at this point, so there it is. Next steps, maybe this evening or maybe tomorrow after church, I'll go ahead and pull this transmission off, and I need to start measuring this bell housing and the input shaft and figuring out what needs to happen with the flywheel and the clutch, seeing if I can mate this transmission to the Gen 5. Gen 5 small block Chevys, as you may be aware, all of them have an 8-bolt flange, or nearly all of them. I think there's one exception, but not very many of the LS series engines, the Gen 3 and Gen 4, had 8-bolt flanges. So I think the depth on the back of that flange is slightly different as well. And there isn't a whole lot of information out there about putting a ZF 6-speed out of a Corvette and some Camaros and Trans Ams up against a Gen 5. So we'll be taking some measurements, seeing what I need to do, see if there's something out there. I suspect I'm going to have to get something custom. So next video will probably be me pulling this transmission and taking some measurements.